Hey everyone, how's it going? Long time no see. I hope you all are doing great. And for those of you who are here for the first time, I'm Leticia Gillett, and this is the Archetype show from Gnomon and sponsored by Lenovo. Thank you, Lenovo. And I was out for 2 weeks on a much deserved vacation time, but I'm back now. Buenos Jace, how's it going? Daria, you. Yay, have to see the whole family here. You guys are awesome. um, yeah, so I had a great time on my vacation time. I went to Vancouver to see my family. I have a sister there, a niece, and a brother-in-law. And then, hey, Felipe, Elizabeth, hi. And I stay a week with them. And then I did 1 week on a Disney cruise. Not just for vacation though. I worked on the cruise as well, representing Strange World on the cruise. The next movie for Disney, November 23rd. Don't miss it. But I also got to rest a ton on the cruise. It was super fun. If you all have a chance to ever go on a Disney cruise, I highly recommend. It's like so fun, a lot of stuff to do, and if you're a Disney freak like me, you will love it. Cruise good. It's a bit tricky because I'm vegan. So, you gotta choose your battles. But for people that eat regular diet, my family, they eat regular diet and they loved everything, ate everything. So it was awesome. Cool. All right. Um, so we're gonna finish today our Rebel project, and then we're gonna pick the next one. So I'm gonna need you all to help me vote for the next one at the end of the stream, so we can do it together. But yesterday I took some time, and a friend of mine, Gustavo, I don't know if he's here, he was helping me because I wanted to do as much as possible on my project to show you all today, and then we can play with lights and you guys can ask anything, obviously, as usual. And we can do that. So let's start that. Let me share the screen. All right. So I think the last time you all saw, this girl was not posed yet. So I did a quick pose. This one, I did not use the rig. I just posed here in ZBrush. And I want to hear what you guys think. If we can push the pose, we can change anything that I'm going to show today, okay, to make it better. So I feel like this project's like on getting close to the 70-80%. But then again, like this finish line is so important to change things to make it from maybe a good piece to a great piece. So any comment is welcome. I can change literally anything, like I said. So I did this one on her, and I start putting, remember we finished the environment on Maya. I start putting everything here in Marmoset. So let me turn on draft quality so you all can see. So here's kind of like where we are, where I'm not completely sold with any of this. Like I'm not feeling too much. So if you all have suggestions, let's do it. Like, I don't know, there's too much dark colors going on. Hey, thank you, Ben. Bang, 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 bum, bang, bum. Yeah, bang, bum, bang, 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 bang. Yeah. So, I start doing some like contrasty scene, but I might play with you all, and we might try a completely new lighting setup and play with some colors as well. I don't know if like this dark blue in the back is the way to go. So, like I said, we can change anything. So help me out here if you guys have any suggestions. So for the boys, I was going to change more, but I didn't want to call too much attention to them comparing to her. So I end up just changing a little bit the color of the hair, and like a little bit of the way the hair parts, but that was about it. Hi, Logan. Hi, Felipe. Já falei com o Felipe. So, this is kind of the light rig I did. And I'm gonna, if you guys want, I can show a little bit of, this is the camera angle I chose, kind of like featuring her more in the foreground and then they few a bit more in the background like this. Yeah. And I can show a little bit of how I did the lights, but I was thinking of changing some stuff, like I said. So some of the textures I painted in Substance Painter with the help of my friend Gustavo as well. Some stuff I did straight from ZBrush, some stuff I did here in Marmoset, so it's like a chaos. This scene is a true chaos, but you know, what matters is the final image. So Bean Ban said maybe a lighter wood on the floor, slightly lighter, more saturated blue on the sky background. Yeah, we can definitely try that. I think the wood, I agree, like something more like this. Yeah, I push it to dark, and then on the blue back there, let's see what we can do. So basically what I'm doing here is that I have the color swap here, so we can test it out. You said maybe a saturated blue for the sky, lighter or more saturated. So we can test things as we go. Maybe it can be a little less blue and more cyan. I do like that as well. Saturate a bit more. Yep. Yeah, that's already helping. I like. But let's a completely new light rig. What do you guys think? Just so we can see what's going on. And for those of you who never did any lighting here in Marmoset, I also using a fog. So that's why you can see this fog coming out of the light here, which is kind of fun because then the fog of the light frames her here on the foreground. So I like how that light is going. I just don't know if this whole thing is too dark, the whole scene. So we might not need to start from scratch. We might just need to tweak some stuff here. So for example, the ambient light. So let me explain my lights here. I think that would be a good thing to start from. So I'm gonna turn off all my lights so you can all see what did I do. Let me close some things here. Okay. Are you rendering with ray tracing Marmoset? I've only started using it some days ago. Yes, Logan, I am rendering with ray trace right now. So if you go to the render tab, there is this little button here on the top. Let me get my Epic pen so I can draw, so you all can see things. I like that idea, Beanban. I'm, like I said, I'm not super good with colors. So I need all the help I can get from you all. So you see this button here, right here. This is the ray trace button. So right now I have it on, so it's calculating bounces. And again, the bounces that it's calculating are here. So I have 8 bounces for light, 14 bounces for transmission. That's normally the amount I use in general to do high-res images. Thank you, Amir. Axel, hello, everyone. So let me show you how I did the light so you all can see. So I'm gonna turn off all the lights. Turn off, turn off, turn off, turn off. Okay, so it's completely black now, right? It feels a bit static, lots of straight lines for Rebel. Maybe a more dramatic camera so the boys will look smaller and more diagonal light. The girl, yes, I like that, Alina. I like that a lot. We can play with the camera angle as well. We can make it more perspective. That's not a word, but yeah. So for the light, what I did is this. I put a AGRI. I always start with the AGRI image to do some feel light. So you can see that's very low because they're inside a theater. So, but from the get-go, I feel like I could push this light up a bit more. So right now it's at 0.1. Let's try 0.2. Okay, so that's a little more feel light. I might even push a bit more, but let's put 0.2 for now. I'm gonna turn it off. And then next, I have a top light right here on the top. Imagine like a rectangular light that is mainly framing the kids. But it's a very soft light, as you can see. The shadow is very soft to kind of like not bring too much attention to them. That might also be a light that I need to push it up a little more. We'll see. And then I have the main light on the girl, which is the spotlight. And that obviously, you know, it's very intense to really frame her and separate her from the rest. And I have one light that it's kind of coming from the side here that I added to kind of add a little bit of a bounce light on the side and on the curtains. The curtains for me before was feeling too flat. So you see how it's like creating this more readability on the curtains. And then, let's see, I created some backlights. One backlight to frame the girl, just for the girl here, to kind of like frame the girl on this side, and then another one to frame her from this side. It's kind of like a counter light, right? We called backlight, counter light, whatever you want to call it. Let me read here. More perspective. Yes, that's a word. Yes, Alina. I recently learned Substance Painter, so I need to learn Marmoset. Which do I prefer more to Reason? Is my Maya or 3ds Max Arnold? It's crashing, so I need to render. Yes, Marmoset, again, like, you know, you can do any software really, but for me, Marmoset is very like flowy in a way. So that's why I choose Marmoset. So that's kind of like what I did with the lights. So if I turn them on again, all of them, and again, I raised my HDRI a little bit, so it's a little less dark than before, but that's kind of like what I have. I like the idea of making the floor wood more yellow, so let me do that. Eh. So this I painted, this floor I painted here in Marmoset, so I'm gonna go to the texture tab so I can access the layers. So wood, here we go. So now I can just make this color a little more yellowy. That's why I like to do stuff. So I can add the hue saturation, for example, node. And then only on the albedo, I can change a little bit the hue to more yellow. Oops, that was too much. Yeah, but we can add a bit more yellow. Can you guys see the before and after? I'm going to turn on and off. So before it was more red. Now it's a bit more yellowish, which I love that idea. And I will keep it. Maybe we can push the value a little also just to be a bit brighter. That is good. Cool. I think the blue of the curtains could be even more cyan. Let's see. Trying. Sometimes I just can't select this thing. Here we go. So I think I can go a bit more cyan. So I think the cyan will be cool because it blends even a bit more with them, with their palette. So I like that idea. Mendo asks, is feature animation industry moving more to real-time previs in software like Unreal, Eevee, and Blender, or is Arnold still the way to go for proper look depth? This is a good question. Yeah, that was great, B-Man. Mendo, that's a great question. I feel like some studios are really experimenting with Unreal to push it. I've seen that happening with some studios. Some studios are always a bit more cautious and they do their own way, their own tool. But I've seen 50-50 where Like I said, some are trying to push that way, some are not. So we'll see. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. One thing Alina suggested was to push the angle of the camera. So right now, actually, I have a pretty good angle, which is 50. Let's try. Well, we could rotate a bit more the camera to frame her more, but we can also try to let's try to put 40. It might be too much, but it's gonna make them feel smaller, which might be a good thing. Yeah, so we can frame her more here. And I'm kind of trying to use the rule of thirds here where I'm kind of putting her face on this quadrant here. And then they're kind of lying here in a way. So that's kind of, I'm very, not amazing at composition. So I like to play safe. That could be a cool, it's already more pushed, I guess. I could also add more depth of field to the camera so they get more blurry back here. So let's do that. Let me see. If we go to the camera, there is a part for the depth of field, which is on focus. And oh yeah, it's already here. So the cool thing about Marmoset is that if you want to say which area you want to focus, you just middle click. So I took her nose here and I just middle click on it. And then everything else gets more blurry and then she gets some focus, which is nice. Okay. What else can we do? I don't know. I'm lost in life. One thing I was playing with, let me see one thing. That's fine. Nice. There's like this black area here, which doesn't matter, but maybe we could frame her, just zoom in even a bit more on the scene to give her more stand up room. Okay. I think that's a good angle, right? One thing I like to do is to make it small like this so I can see from far and see if it's feeling the way I want. I think it kind of is. Okay. Let's see. So we adjusted the curtains, we adjusted the floor more yellowish. We brought some light back to it, which again, like, I don't know if I should bring even more. Let's try 0.3 to bring a bit more light to the stage. I think that's good. Now the character, if the blue curtain can go a bit higher, because now the perspective is taking my attention to the tree. The blue curtain could be a bit higher. You mean like higher like this? Like push it up like this? Or push forward? Is that what you mean? So it doesn't create that line touching the floor, is that it? I can push it up. That's what you're asking. I kind of like it. I think I'm going to keep it that way. Okay. What are you guys feeling about the pose of her? Like, do you feel like we could potentially in ZBrush push it up more? I could twist her more, or yes, like scaled on Z. On Z. Let me see. We'll go a bit higher because now the perspective is taking my attention to the tree. Yes, like scaled on the Z. I think I did it right. scaled on the Z, just make them more thick like this, so more thinner. Sure. I could make the tree a bit darker as well if it's calling too much attention. Let me see small so we can feel it. Yeah, I can make it just a smidge darker, the tree. Kind of blend a bit more at the background. Yep, I think that's a good idea. Yeah, now the tree is blending a bit more. Then we have her here. We could also try like completely different camera angle. Like at first I was trying like a very front angle. But I like this one. It feels more dynamic for her. Yes. The axis in Marmoset, yes, is different. Sorry. What if she's trying to reach up more and balancing on her left foot with right foot off the floor? Yeah, we can try that. Or we could raise her foot up, kind of like what Disney princesses do. Like they put their foot up when they're, you know. To me, the stage feels too small for them. If a grown man stood next to them, his head would be covered in cotton. That is true. I kind of made that decision forcefully in a way. Like I thought it would be funny if it felt like a very small stage, but we could potentially scale them down a little. Let's try that. I'm gonna get all of the characters here, and I'm gonna scale them down just a smidge more, like this maybe. Peel. Yep. Unless they make children size stage, yeah. Uh, okay, Elena, let's check it out. Maybe we could so the way here in ZBrush I'm gonna do to pose this is I'm going to go to Z plugin and I'm gonna use the what's the name? Transpose Master. I'm gonna click it, so it's gonna go everything. Here we go. Jean, move. Jean, help us out here. We could, like I said, so now I can edit everything as one piece because I'm using Transpose Master. So we could potentially like turn her torso even more. Let's see how that goes. Hi everyone. So I can do this and turn a bit more her torso to the side. Well, the angle we're seeing there is kind of like this, you see? So we can turn this a little more like this. Little more straight arms, maybe? That's what you're saying, Felipe? Yeah, we can try that. Let's try that. I'm going to get here, push this up a bit, and then I can push this up to make more straighter arm. I think that is a cool idea. And then if we think about animation, right, posing, we're doing, oops, let me get a different color. We're doing this and this with the pose. But my thought was, okay, we could raise even more this, do this flow here going. We have this flow. And then maybe we could take this foot here and place it like she's pushing it up, you know, like it's kind of like on her heels back here. That could be cool. Let me just make sure this stuff is going up here and I'm not penetrating too much. So I need to get this thing up a bit more. Oops. See what's going on. So this needs to go up a bit. Yep. And then we can push this in. All right. Is it working? Yep. Now it's working. And then let's try to put on her heel going up. I think that could be cute. So just make sure to put pivot point where I want, like kind of in the heel area around here. And then normally it rotates right about here. And let's try from the pose. I like to always do it in an angle close to what I'm seeing in Marmoset to render. And just gonna make this go forward like this. Okay, so let's do it. So like this, and then we can try to rotate her feet. Well, it would be just the front of the feet, I guess, huh? Let me try it. Let me try something. I need to leave the heel. We're just gonna rotate the tip of the foot, maybe. They're experimenting. It's always a test. Always testing. Well, if that's the case, I need to put the pivot point more there, right? So do the patience. Whoops, not like that. Put the pivot here. So it can rotate on the toe. Oops. You tell me about roadmaps of improved sculpting skills. I can't find what I must do firstly. Yes, of course. I mean, for me, I think the main suggestion I can give you as Lyndon is to practice a ton. Like if you want to get better at doing, that's horrible. If you want to get better at doing animals, just pick a bunch of photos of animals and start sculpting them. Get image reference is your best friend, right? So get image of anatomy of animals. If you want to practice faces, get a bunch of photos and then start practicing. If you want to practice faces, stylized faces. Again, get a bunch of like I've done this exercise, I think I've shown it here, where I get characters that I like from like Pixar and Disney, and I just sculpt them so I can learn the decisions they made. I'm basically, you know how when you go to art school and they make you do like master copies? So they pick like paintings from the past, and then you do copy them basically, right? You try to copy as best as you can. That's the same thing for 3D. If you can do that in 3D to exercise those muscles the same way that they do in art schools to force us to do those things. For me, that's the best advice I could give. Um, because it truly, truly helps you to do master copies and uh, do anatomy studies. All that stuff is gonna help you so much to become a better sculptor. You know, I'm gonna take a class this year. It's a teacher called Rafael Sozo, and a lot of his class, I love taking his classes because he does a lot of master studies and anatomy studies and things like that. So it always like keeps me in check when I do those classes, because then I'm like, oh, I really needed to study arm anatomy, or like it keeps you, because the thing is, studying anatomy, human anatomy, animal anatomy, environment anatomy, all this stuff, it's gonna help you be able to break those things to make better stylized characters. So that's just my opinion, obviously, but that's what I would say. It's just like, give yourself small amount of exercises, like, oh, I'm gonna study just hands. I'm gonna do like an old hand, a young hand, a um, skinny hand, a fat hand, and then you're gonna study all the things that you need to do to make those different kinds of hands. Mando asked, would you recommend that character modelers in animation industry learn how to surface and rig, or should we just focus on modeling only? My recommendation for that stuff, it might be controversial, but I always think that you should, the more you understand the pipeline and all stages of the pipeline, the better artist you will be. So I'm all for studying basics of rigging and look dev and things like that. That's again just my opinion. But I think that helped me a lot to get where I am today because I am more generalist and I like to study all things. Again, that's just my take on it, right? Looking good. I just got from my 4 more frontal shot and maybe add a colored light to give her some highlight. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah. Um, what do you guys think? I pushed the pose, so I pushed her down a bit more. I didn't do much on the foot, but let me go back so we can see what happened. So if I go back to Z plugin T pose, it's gonna rotate a bit more to the side. I like it better. We push her arm up, which is nice. That's cool. What else could we do here? Since we're here on her, I'm just thinking if there's anything else we could do. I always wanted to fix this thing that I did. Let me fix this. Bit less ugly. Okay. And is this model with topology in Maya 3D Max for animation? No, this model, there's no good topology on it. It's just ZRemesher. Since I'm just doing an illustration, Dialu, I decided to do ZRemesher. There's no proper topology now. So, yep, it is what it is here. But yeah, if I was doing this obviously for production, I'll have to do a proper topology. But since I'm doing for illustration, it doesn't matter. All right, let's export to see what we did. So I'm gonna export here, FBX, and then Marmoset, Rebel, save. And we wait to see what happened. So it goes subtool by subtool exporting. And when it says export done exporting, then we go to Marmoset and it's gonna update for us, which is awesome. Okay. So still going. Did it finish? Yeah. So if we go to Marmoset now, you're gonna see that it updated what we just did, which is nice. Now she has her arms going up more. Yada yada. One thing is that I took this hair piece and I moved for the camera basically. You know, a lot of times we gotta do that. So I'm just moving here so it looks better on the angle of the camera. I think we could also maybe rotate her a little more to the left, to the right, I guess, like this. Yeah. So it's more 3D. So, what else do you guys think we should do? Maybe the camera should go a little farther, like this. Pretty hard to find base models of characters from cartoons to analyze and practice. Is there any place to find them? I saw a few only on Instagram. Yes, there is a great model by Sergi Kabaler. He, I think, is on Gumroad. Let me find it here. Gumroad Sergi Kabaler. Okay. So Sergi sells facial modeling. I think it's this one. This one here. He sells this model here. So it's this girl with all these pieces and such. And he's he works at Disney as well. So it's a good model to look for. I can't think of anyone else for cartoon. I'll think about it, Daria, and I'll let you know. Hi, Prashan. How's it going? Do you guys see this little dot here? This is like a light. I'm gonna have to remove this dot in Photoshop because the fog, if I turn off the fog, you see that we lose our spotlight shine. on her. So since we rotated a bunch of stuff, I might need to adjust also this spotlight on her. So just gonna push it to get a bit closer to her. And let's see what else we need to do. I might need to rotate and push it in more like this. And maybe we need to rotate a little bit as well. Oops, not like that, like this, more to the side. Nope, that was not a good idea. Is this the key light? Yes, this is, call it, I don't know if I'll call key light, but this is her key light for sure, yeah, for the scene. I think it could come up from the top a bit more, so I'm just gonna rotate this down more and then push it to frame her. Okay. Let me go back because I broke something apparently. Back one more. Okay. And I have the one light coming from the back to create like a rim feeling. And then I have this light here, which is framing her. I might push it back a bit more like this to give her a little bit of a highlight. If I increase the brightness, you can see what this light is doing. See, it's kind of like giving a little backlight on her. So just gonna put a bit like so. But it's creating this damn dot because of the fog that I'm using. So I gotta be careful with that stuff. Okay, so it's framing her face. This light here, I'm really upset with it. It's creating this weird dot. Let me see if I push back a bit more. I can't. Oh well. I was just removing Photoshop. That's fine. Yeah, this key light might be too strong now because I moved it down a little. So just move to the side a bit more here, and I'm going to turn down the intensity a bit. I don't see the highlight rim on the right side. Yeah, I might have moved it. Let's see. Let me bring the brightness on it so we can see. Yep, now we're seeing it. Can you see what's going on here? It's like doing a little bloom. So just gonna make sure we have enough of the light. I turn on and off. You can see that's getting here on the side of her face, which might not be ideal. It's getting right here. We might need to move back a bit. Right here. Let's see what's going on. So the best way to see this stuff, I'm trying to hide behind the curtain. The best way to see is turn off everything, and then we just leave that light on, so we can see it's kind of framing here her hand, her clothing. So we might be able to like rotate a little more like this. And it's also because of the fog is creating this little bloom here, which I don't want. So I'm just gonna try to hide behind the curtain. And then we can rotate to create some framing on her. I think that is pretty good. We might want to move it up a bit to see. No, this is good. Let's see how it feels with all the other lights. So this one is creating this rim frame. And let's see. Oops, no. Yep, that's turning pretty good. Maybe we could rotate. Let me see what's going. Okay, rotate maybe up a bit more to get a bit more of her hair and dress like this. Ashley Dean said, Leticia, can you advise me about online course at Character Modeling and Texturing? My goal is to look dev modeler. Yes. Let me think. What's a good class? Well, for modeling, if you want to do cartoon, I highly recommend Shane Olson school. So Shane has this class called 3D Character Workshop. That it's a lot of it. It's a you can do models like this. You see, so it's like there's some look dev involved, but it's mostly modeling, I would say. But he teaches a bunch of cool stuff. He's been doing this for many years, and he's an amazing teacher also, Shane. So I recommend Shane. If you can take classes online from Gnomon, it's highly recommended. Gnomon has amazing classes on look dev and modeling as well. Is this one here, Gnomon School. Okay, so this is Gnomon website. I'm going to put here on the chat for you. So there's Gnomon. Here we go. There's Shane Olson School. Dylan Akron and Charles Ellison. Yes, Charles class, it's amazing. I worked with Charles at DreamWorks, and he is a great teacher. I learned a lot from him. So I think he teaches at M School. Charles Ellison and School. Yeah, I think he works. Here's Charles. So he has a great teaching, a great class as well. So I'm going to put it here on the chat for you all. That's enough classes for you to worry about already. Right, so spotlight, rectangle light, ambient light, crease. I think my spotlight's too bright now. Let's put 7.9. And I'm going to increase the amount of fog, I think, just so we can do that in Photoshop, just like make this thing a bit more intense like this. Because if I increase now, you see that weird light here that I'm putting to frame her, it's getting a lot of fog in. But I could increase a ton of fog, see? And then you can see what happens in the scene. I'm just gonna leave some like this, and then we can do the rest in Photoshop, basically. Just want to move this light, see if I can get away from the boy and put here in the curtain. Let me see what's. Yeah, I'm gonna have to rotate. Go this way to get on her. Let's see without all the lights, so it's easier for us to see what am I framing here. So her ears, which is nice, a little bit of her dress. I think that's a good framing, and then that's gonna be easier to remove in Photoshop. That little dot. All right, so let me turn off on everything. Okay, that's great. Let's see it like small here, just to get the feeling of the scene. Nice. I think I could fake it and just scale her up a bit so it feels like she is bigger in frame. I'm just gonna scale her up a bit more so it feels that she's closer to us. And that's something that animators do all the time, just so you all know. It's okay to scale things a little bit here and there to create more storytelling, right? So cool. Maybe I can push her also back a bit, or I just feel like you see this flower here. I need to move this flower because it's really close to her. And I also gonna move this boy closer here. And then there's this flower. We got to take care of everything, right? So we got to make sure that if things are getting cropped, they're getting cropped properly. Yep. All right. And I think that's good. What do you all think? Think we could go to Photoshop and start doing some comping and changing some stuff? This is kind of like, yeah, one thing I like to do also, which is so cool in Marmoset. You guys are gonna love this, but Marmoset inside the camera itself. One second. Mendel said, Leticia, what classes at Gnomon do you recommend for character modeling? Wow, there's so many good classes. Let me, where did I put the, oh, did I close? I closed it. If you go to Gnomon, and you go to online, I think online classes, or if you can go there, it's even better, right? But if you cannot go there, the online classes are great. Let me see if I can. I don't know how to navigate websites anymore in my life. Academic. I want to see classes. All right, so we can just search for it. I'm gonna put character modeling. Character modeling. Let's see what comes up. So there is a character modeling and sculpting class, character creation for games. There's some, let's see, courses. I think that's where it is. So in here, you can do, there's summer camp courses, 3D character animation, character design and creature, online classes, login. No, that's not what I want. I want to just see the online classes. Individual courses, I think that's what it is. No, that's all right, Mendo. I'm here to support you all the best I can. This one, Stylized Character Creation, is the one that I used to teach in Gnomon, but I don't do it anymore. But they have Steve Anderson teaching the class, which is awesome. So this class is all for Stylized Character Creation, which is awesome. And Steve has been teaching the class, I think, for a while now. Let's see what else we have here. So there's a ton. You can see feature on-campus classes, online classes. Let's see all the online classes. So we can go to characters, modeling and sculpting online. All right, I'm getting there. So we have the foundation ones, digital sculpting, intro to Maya, very good class also, amazing. For intermediate, we have creature modeling and sculpting and hard surface modeling 1, which is taught by Max, which has been here on our channel chatting with me, and Max is just the best in the world. And then we have hard surface modeling 2. So this digital sculpting, I think, okay, so it's with Maddie. She is amazing. For those of you that don't know her work, is just the most amazing modeler of all time. She's been doing this for such a long time. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm going to give you all this link here, which is the online classes, and then you can check it out. It depends. Fernando's is saying, but I think they're asking you to be in other classes. It depends. If you're taking foundation classes, they do not require you. But if you decide to take intermediate, sometimes they do require you to prove that you have some knowledge already or that you took those classes at Gnomon before. The best solution for this is to talk with a Gnomon advisor and see what works for you. So if you go to somewhere in the sites, you can go to talk with someone, and then they will advise you to what's the best approach for you on the with the school. So there's here, you see admissions at gnomon.edu. So you can use that to talk to them, or if you're here in LA, you can call them and talk, and they're great to help you to choose the right classes for you. Yes, Mendo. Max makes my heart feel good. Yes, he's amazing. So All right. So here on the camera, okay, there's a bunch of cool things that I love in Marmoset, which you can adjust here without having to go to Photoshop. For example, you can do the depth of field in camera, which I already have. You can see that things are blurry back here and not sharp up here. We can add some flare stuff. I don't think I have any flare going on here. You can add motion blur if you had an animation. You can I'm gonna save this file because that's very important. I'm gonna save this as number 2. Distortion, you can give chromatic aberration to the scene. So if I start adding, you can see the chromatic aberration going on. Do, do, do. So I love chromatic aberration, so I like to put a ton on my scenes. I just love it so much. You can do post effects like increase exposure, contrast, saturation. For example, I want to saturate this whole scene a little bit more. So I can go here and just put a little more saturation. You can see now. And you can change contrast. Maybe I will not have too much contrast. You can see the difference. This is like with the regular contrast. I might do contrast in Photoshop because it's easier to control there. Exposure. I like to adjust exposure, so sometimes just give a little bloom here. The sharpness of your image. Here's without any sharpness. I love sharpness as well, so I'm just going to increase some sharpness here. There's a bloom factor. You can bloom your whole scene. We don't want that, obviously, but we can add some bloom to just like give a little bit of life to things. I think I'm going to increase also the lights for the kids. What do you guys think? I'm going to put 0.2 just to bring them up a little. And on the main light here, I'm just going to put 8. See what happens. All right, going back to the camera, we have also vignette, which I do have a ton of vignette. If I take it out, you can see that things are much brighter. So I love vignette on this particular scene. I think it helps a lot to have vignette to frame, the story to the center of the image. So I'm going to add a ton of vignette here. And you can even change the color of the vignette. Like if I want a dark red or something instead of full black. Also, you can add grain to the film. So I'm going to let it render and then we can adjust the grain of the film here. I think the boys could use a bit of fill light from the bottom. Their chin's very dark, but maybe that's just a noise stream compression. Yeah, maybe we could have, I think I'm going to increase the fill light a little bit. That's a good idea. And Leticia, do you know how can I learn lighting and rendering as Disney cartoons? Yes. Again, Gnomon has great lighting classes. I would always say Gnomon because they're so straight on professional, like building artists for the industry. Not just because I worked for them, being very honest. Like I went to Gnomon and it was like life changing for me for my career. That's why I always talk about Gnomon. And that's why I also always work with Gnomon because they're amazing. So that's what I would say. Like for me, if there's anything that I want to do seriously, let's say like, oh, I want to really start doing some lighting professionally, the first thing I would do is go to Gnomon and go to the classes there. But obviously, there are tons of other artists that you can follow to do so. Because I'm not super involved with lighting, my main suggestion would be Gnomon. Yeah. I don't know much about other teachers, good teachers in lighting, unfortunately. Yeah. Okay, so here again, like there's the vignette. So I'm gonna increase, whoops, I'm on the wrong camera. I'm gonna increase the vignette a little more. Or we can do the vignette also in Photoshop. I don't need to do too much here. And the film grain is here. So you can see the film grain going on, like a ton of film grain and none of film grain. I love film grain. So I'm just going to add a little bit here. And we can add again in Photoshop. That's fine. But I like to do some stuff in camera just so I can feel good about myself already. Yeah, fine film grain. That's good. And I think we can take this to Photoshop now and start adjusting things. What do you all think? Are we ready? Still pretty uniform blue curtain. Maybe try to light it in the bottom. It would, if you Google school scene, they are brighter at the bottom and slightly desaturated the floor to bring attention to the characters. I like that idea. I think the brightness on the curtains we can do in Photoshop, Daria, but I like that idea. Dayalu asks, do you use any open source software for 3D animation? I am studying Blender right now. So I do use Blender, but that's about it. All right, so this saturate a bit the floor, Daria said. So I'm gonna just saturate a bit. Think that's a good idea. And yep, this saturated here. Yeah, that's better. And the curtain gradient, we can do, like I said, we can do in actually we could do here. Do you guys want to see how I would do it here? So let's do something here. Let me see if I know how to do it. So here's the curtain. So I textured this curtain here in Marmoset. So if I go to the texture palette, you can see that whoops, I'm on the wrong one. I want to go to the curtain, this one. So you can see that I put it like a little bump texture on the curtain to feel more like cloth. And then I could add a new fill layer on it. Okay. And I'm only going to change the color. And I want to give a little gradient, right, on it. So I'm going to add a mask layer. Add a mask layer, black and white here. And now I'm going to paint. So the cool thing, Marmoset, there's this tool, gradient tool. And I'm going to click and drag, and I'm going to create a gradient, boop, like so, on a piece. And you can see that I already created a gradient here. Whoops. I think I'm going to do from bottom to, here's the UV, just so you know, the UV of my curtain. And what I'm going to do here, just so we can see something, I'm going to make it red. So you can see now that the top of my curtain is red because I made a gradient, and the bottom of my curtain is blue. Obviously, we don't want that. We just want the top to be darker and the bottom to be lighter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a darker blue to be up there. So you can see that now it's like a super saturated on top. I could potentially just get the color down here, same color, and then just like push it darker on the top. Check it out. So now you can see that it's darker on the top, it's brighter than the bottom. And if you look at my UVs, here we go, you can see my mask. So the bottom is not getting too much, the top is getting more. And then I get that gradient going on here. Isn't that cool? So I could do that in Photoshop as well, but we can do it here in Marmoset, which is awesome. So you can add gradients very easily on things inside Marmoset for the texturing bit. Let's see, should we zoom out just a smidge on this? Okay. Again, I think it's good. All right. Wow, I think with gradient so much better, more 3D. Yes, I agree 100%. It blended more here on the top. It's not calling too much attention. That was a great idea. Thank you. Cool. All right, should we take this to Photoshop? It's always the hard moment to like decide to go to Photoshop and get out of 3D for me. But I think it's time. And these two We only have 1 more hour. I think it's perfect. We can finish this in Photoshop. Let me just fix her hair thing. Where's her hair thing? Hair piece. Just gonna make sure I can see a bit better this hair piece here. All right, so to render this, okay, I'm not gonna do crazy render passes or anything like that. But I am rendering one render pass. Maybe I can put a flower here as well. 1 second. Let me just duplicate a flower. Gonna put one right here. Maybe this one can go down here. And this can go up. And maybe one flower down here. Just trying to see if there's anything missing here. Okay, let's see. Yeah, it's fine. So one thing that I like to do for rendering, I only do 2 passes. One is obviously the render pass, the albedo path, and then one is the object ID path. So down here on the render tab, you have the render passes, and I put object ID. So imagine every single object in the scene is gonna have a color, so I can use it to mask things and adjust things in Photoshop. Cool. So let's do that. Let's render. Should we? Are you guys can I get a thumbs up to render this thing so we can call it good eventually? Um, I think like the cropping. One last thing. Zoom in more. Be bold and zoom in, and don't care too much about the stage and the curtains, stuff like that. We have some curtains here. Maybe this tree also we can move a little more forward and crop a little like so. Okay, so let's render. So like I said, I like to render pretty big, and then I size down normally when I post it, but I like to do it big because I never know if like I want to use for something else. Yay, brush on approved. Let's keep moving. That's great. Thank you. Um, so I'm rendering here. You see, I'm rendering like is this called 4K or 6K? I don't know what this is, but I'm rendering pretty big. And then I normally size down half size when I post anywhere. But I always like to have it big because, again, like you don't know if Gnomon is going to want this image to do something with it. I don't know. There is a little tangent going on here with this boy and the curtain. I don't know if you guys could notice. So what I'm going to do is try to move this curtain a little bit so I don't have that tangent. Always look for tangents if there's things that are like right touching together, because those things are, the eye goes right there. It's very dangerous. So I'm always looking for tangents. You don't want to have like something like this, for example, like right touching her arms here. Check it out, you see? But also you can go all the way in to kind of like overlap, or you take it out. But don't leave it touching like perfectly, because that is like what we call tangent, and it's dangerous. Um, all right, so let's render again. Like I put the size pretty big. Here you go, and I only do 2 passes. You can do more passes in Marmoset. You can do geometry passes, ID passes, material passes. That's totally fine. I can just paint shit in Photoshop. I don't care. So I'm just gonna render. So now I'm gonna press render. It might get a bit slow on my internet, but if not, I'm gonna keep chatting. You guys tell me if I'm lagging, but I'm gonna press render. Here we go. Boom. So because I'm I think is going to take a while, just because I'm rendering so big. I might not need so big. Gonna cancel. Am I back? Was I cutting? I think I was cutting, right? I'm not gonna do so big right now because or else we're not gonna be able to do work together on the image. So I'm gonna go try to render again half a size. So I went one size down, which I think it's 4K or 2K. I don't know what that is. Breaking up slightly, yeah. So let me see if it goes faster here. All right, this is going to take way too long. I'm gonna save my scene as well. How should we do this? Maybe I'll do smaller the adjustments and then let me think what's the best way so we don't wait too long for a render frame to go off. I wish I could keep talking while I'm rendering, but I don't think I can. All right, let me go here. Okay, let's do a smaller render and then later on we can size it up. Let me just see one thing here. This angle of this camera, I think I'm gonna open smidge more the spot. If you go here on a spot angle, I just want to make sure I have the hands a little in as well on the spotlight. Yeah, I think that's cool. All right. Julio. All right, should we try to render again? I'm gonna save. Maybe I'll do a smaller render, maybe a 1K. Let me see. 1K is too small. You guys are gonna have to bear with me and wait for me to render, okay? Don't go anywhere. I'm gonna try to talk. It might not work, but we'll try it. All right, here we go. For real now. Let's render. I think I'm cutting. Shouldn't take too long. Cutting a bit, right? Yeah, pressure. Well, it's going pretty fast now. Am I a robot? Yes, just wait a bit and listen to me being a robot. Which I don't know if I am being a robot, but a bit. Okay. Well, if you guys have any questions, put on the chat because when the render is done, I can talk about it. And all right, we're getting close to mid render. Mendo asked, while we wait, would you recommend moving to Los Angeles for work, network? Well, this is a very personal question, Mendo. I would say it depends on what you want for your career and for your life. Some people they rather stay close to family. Some people rather follow where the job is, you know. So now it's rendering the object ID pass. You see, so it finished the image, now it's rendering your object ID. what you want really, Mendel, for your career. All right, it's done. Not too bad. All right, let me just do one thing here. I'm gonna open my Photoshop here. And Mendel, you gotta sit with yourself and ask the questions like, do I want to stay close to family? Do I want to move some other place? Do I know how Los Angeles is? Would I want to be working in Los Angeles? Those are questions that a lot of people don't ask themselves. And then when they get here, they get unhappy or, unsatisfied with things. So I would say be careful with that stuff, ask those questions for yourself and see what comes up for you. If you like, yes, I really want to be in LA, that's where the jobs are, whatever. Um, you know, that's what you got to do, but you will never know if you don't ask yourself those questions. All right, let me open the renders here 1 second, and then I'll answer the other questions. Do we have? Where is my render? Just 1 second. Here we go. All right. No. This one. Sorry, I'm just trying to find the render passes here. All right. Let me share my screen again. Okay. So this is what I said about the object ID is basically like every single piece of object that you have on your system is going to have a color that you can use to mask things, right? So, and here is my final render. So what I like to do is to bring that image in here so we can use to mask things. And then this is my original image. Cool. Let me see what's going on in the chat here. Let's see. So sculpting hands seems very hard. I couldn't do it right. What I have to do. You have to like maybe find some classes about anatomy, I would say. And really get to sculpt a bunch of hands until you feel you're doing good, So it takes a while. Hands are very complicated. So you got to do many kinds of hands. Like I've sculpted so many hands and I still do. Like I never use a hand that I already have. I always sculpt from scratch. So I can keep improving my hands. It's expensive and hot there. Mendel said it's expensive and hot there, but I'm from San Diego, so I would be willing to move to LA. Yes, if you San Diego, that's a much easier move than coming from a different country, for example. So for you, yes, I would say if you want to see your family, you just need to drive down. That's much better for you. Yeah. Is it expensive and hot in LA, right? Yes, LA is one of the most expensive cities here in US, for sure. And it is hot. What software are you using for rendering? I'm using Divas. I'm using Marmoset tool bag to render. Okay. Asledin said, "Can you talk about studying in Gnomon? How did you get your visa, etc.?" Yes, I'm gonna start doing some comping, and then we can talk about that. That sounds good. All right. So, before I start talking about Gnomon, let me just show you guys something. So, like I said, I have here my ID pass if I want to do any selections to change anything. That's great. So the first thing I like to do is to start creating some vignettes to frame the story a little better. So I like to make it like my image small like this so I can see from a small piece. But even before that, let's correct this dim light here that we need to remove. So I'm going to create a new layer. I'm just going to get a little band-aid, paint it out. Whoops. I need to put sample all layers and then paint it out, and yay, he goes away and even gave me a flower. What? But now no flower. So now we don't have that stupid light there, and I can try to like make it a little better. So I like the band-aid to take like little mistakes that happens around. let's just look for if there's any other mistakes. For example, up here, I'm gonna have to darken because my fog of my light is kind of brightening this top area, which I don't like at all. Our character is fitting pretty good. Oh, I just noticed one thing. Look at this, penetrating a little bit on her. So the band-aid hopefully helps. If it doesn't, you can use the I don't know how to call this in English. What's the name of this? Clone stamp. Okay. So I'm just gonna clone stamp, sample all layers. So I'm just gonna clone stamp here. Do a little dirty fix. We could render again, but because the render is not doing well for us on the live stream, we're just gonna clone stamp. And now that's fixed. Again, let's see if there's any other mistakes anywhere that we need to clean up. You can see a lot of chromatic aberration. That's just my taste. Some people think I'm do too much, whatever. I like it. I'm gonna do it. It's my life. I'm gonna fix that little thing there. I'm just looking for things to fix here. I think we're good. Yep. Cool. Do you think about bit of depth and color spaces when you look dev? Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm not very good at it, as you can see, but I do think about it. I don't know if I'm the best at it, but I do think about those things, depth and colors and color combinations. Like I'm gonna saturate a lot of this stuff as well because I tend to because I'm afraid of light or color, I just tend to work kind of like safe, But so I'm gonna call this layer fix. It's always good to name your layers because we're gonna get a bunch of layers stacked up here. So if you need to go back to fix something, it's good to have the names of things. Okay, so now let's create some vignette. So again, everyone does different. I just create a layer. I'm gonna call this vignette. And I like to pick a big brush like this. Oops, big brush. Soft big brush. So let me check if my brush is soft. Full opacity right here. Again, I'm gonna make it small. And I'm just gonna go around and I know it's gonna be very black, but I'm gonna play with opacity and such. So I'm just gonna vignette the scene like this. And again, I'm just gonna play with the opacity so it's not too much dark. But I think for this scene, the vignette is gonna be very important to kind of like break this lines here and such. Oops. So you can see here what's going on with the vignette right here. Also, let me just turn on the vignette a bit. You see this little bloom that's going on here? There's a little bloom on the edge here. That's because of that dim light I have back there. So we could also just stamp a little bit of the dark and paste it here. And I think that's gonna help a bit of fixing here. Let's see, I'm gonna turn on and off. I made it brighter. Not one brighter. I'm gonna erase what I did here and I'll fix it a little bit later. All right, so we got a vignette. If you guys have any suggestions, please let me know. But I know there was a question about Gnomon, and the quick answer would be, it was amazing studying a Gnomon. It was truly amazing experience. They push you a lot. So you gotta be on your best self there because there's no room for being slow or anything like that. You gotta be on your best shape to be there. Yeah, this is no joke. No joke. We're gonna be very honest. So you gotta be ready to take that challenge. Um, So I organized my whole life to be a Gnomon, and so I was ready. I feel like I was as ready as I could be. Yeah. All right. Adriano asked, "Who is the most cute, sweet artist at Disney?" Who said Leticia? It's thank you, Adriano. Uh, any tips for someone who started learning retopology? Seems very hard for me, especially for complicated meshes. Yeah, retopology is one of those things that you gotta do a few times until you feel pretty comfortable doing. So, my way of studying topology is just finding online some nice topology and trying to mimic them, trying to understand why did they do certain things in the face, etc. There's also a very good book. Let me see if I can find here to suggest. It's like, oh man, what's the name of that book? Let me see if I can find it. I think it's this one. Oh, man, I don't know. I'm gonna have to look for it. You're gonna have to remind me next time. Marcus, how's it going? I took a tour in Gnomon recently, and the first year character clay sculptors are amazing. Very high standard, it seems, at Gnomon. Yeah, Gnomon pushes your limits. And if you stick with it, you're gonna go far because, that's just how it is. All right, let's see if there's anything else we want to fix here. Oh yeah, one thing I know I want is to make the lashes and the eyebrows a little darker. I feel it's too the same with her brown hair. So what we can do is to go here and select the masks of I'm gonna put the tolerance to like 50 and select the IDs for those pieces. And that's normally how I like to fix stuff in Photoshop and such. You're gonna do that. So I have selections now. So I'm gonna go back here and I'm gonna put a adjustment layer, hue saturation adjustment layer. And one thing I like to do is to go on the mask and kind of smooth a bit because the mask is a bit kind of like selection janky. So I can just come here and make it a bit smoother. We can even feather a little bit. And I'm gonna say okay. And now we go back here and I'm going to make it darker. So you can see, just gonna make it a little darker so it pops a bit more her face. You see now? Might be too dark. Go back a bit. But now it kind of frames her face a little better. It doesn't blend with her hair, which is nice. We could also select her hair and maybe make it a bit more saturated. So the cool thing now is just to have fun, right? It's like I'm here, I have all the selections. I'm just gonna play and see what I can do. So I did the selections again, I'm gonna turn it off, and then I'm gonna create a new hue saturation layer. Again, make sure to name things. So I'm gonna call this browse dark, and then I'm gonna call this one hair. Call it just hair, because then we can, I don't know what I'm gonna do yet, but we could saturate more her hair. We could give a little more redness to it, maybe. And we could even make it darker or lighter. I'm not sure, maybe like this. So we can show before and after. You can see that her hair before was kind of like with some green, which I don't like. I like my brown with more red like this. So I think that's better. There's a question, why didn't you render in Maya? It's just preference, I prefer rendering things in Marmoset. That's just my preference. I could do it in Maya. It's I just my taste on doing things. That would be the answer. Another thing I like to do is this little hair bits here. The little antennas. I think they're too subdued, they're too dead. So what I'm gonna do here is to select them and I'm gonna bring them back to life here. Again, like my selections are very shitty, but it doesn't matter because I'm gonna blur them a little bit, so it's fine. Here we go. So now I can create another adjustment layer, hue saturation. I'm gonna go to the layer. I'm gonna blur a little bit, all these bits. So I can do a little smooth, and I can do a bit of feather. Okay. And now we can like saturate them more to make it pop, maybe make it a little lighter or saturated. I think that is, let's see before and after. Yeah, that is bringing them back to life, which is nice. Cool. What else can I do? um, let's see what we can do with this fog light here. So one thing I like to do is to create a new layer, and then I can select, kind of like make a selection like this of the area of the fog light. And what am I gonna do? Oh yeah, I'm gonna make a solid layer. So I'm gonna put white, fully white. Make this pop here. And I'm gonna blur, well, let me see what I'm going to create like a black and white gradient on the mask, and maybe like try to frame a bit more only the top of the light. Let me go back. Here we go. Something more like that. And then here, I can also blur this mask, right? So if I double click, I can feather this mask a bit more. Don't need smooth, we just need feather. I'm gonna feather a little. Say okay. So now we have that. It's obviously very strong. And now we can do a light screen. We'll do a screen and then tone down the opacity a ton. But we can bring some of it back to kind of like frame her even more. Like it's like turning the light a little more on her. Something like that. So you can see before and after. Here we go. And we could do maybe a bit more. Again, like one thing I like to do is to see small like this, to see if I'm pushing too far or if I'm giving too much. It might be too much. I'm just gonna do 10%. I think that's good. Right? That's great. Cool. One thing to show you guys now is a dirty way to give some life to the hair on the characters. So if you did like me, which is just geo, there's nothing on the hair. One thing I like to do, let me call this a spotlight. One thing I like to do is I create a hue saturation layer, and I'm gonna make this light. I'm gonna make super light just so you all can see, like this. I'm gonna invert the mask, and with the brush, let me get a brush here. It's like a soft brush like this. I go here with the small little thing, and I start drawing some strands of hair. It might be too light for now, but I'm gonna play with it. I just like to put it light at first because then I can see what I'm doing. So bear with me. Like I just do a few things like this, so you can do a few coming up and down. Or actually, I'm just gonna do a few like this on the light one, and you're gonna see that it doesn't look good yet, but hopefully it will eventually. So we can do some things like this. And then we can come here and do feel like this. And I could have painted this in ZBrush, but I didn't. So we do what we can now. So do some lights like this. Maybe can have a few going up here. Okay, and I can do the same thing on the boys, but I'm gonna have to blur the mask here because they're very blurred. And then if I do this without blurry, it's gonna look bad, obviously. So later I'm gonna blur just this mask area here. Okay, so let me do a little shaping here. I'm gonna do fast just so you all can see what I'm talking about. So I can come here, do a few hair things like so. Okay, whatever. I would do with better care, obviously, but just to show. And then, oops. Okay, and let's say that's done. So it gives a little texture, right, to the hair. But I only did like lightness. So we go back, we can do some saturation as well. So it starts getting more brownish. And then we can play like of how much we want. Right here. Can even add a little more like yellowish to it. And also we can get the blur brush on the mask and just start blurring a little bit this one's back here for the kids. So you can see that start giving like a feeling of a textural feeling on the hair. And then blur a little. So it creates some noise there. I can even blur a little bit the ones here so it's not too sharp. And I do the same thing. So I'm going to duplicate this one. Duplicate. But I'm actually going to make it dark now. So I'm going to make a dark color. Okay. And I'm going to clear the mask and paint now some dark ones. So again, I make it very dark. So it's going to be very dark, but then we're going to play with it and tune it back. So just bear with me. I'm going to do some dark things. And it's going to just create a little bit of more life to the hair, more textural life that I don't have right now. So we can put some like about here, and then we can do some like so. It's all about feeling now, right? You got to think of yourself now as a painter. I'm not a modeler anymore. I'm a painter, and I got to see what's the best for my painting. Because now this is an illustration. It's a painting. So you got to get in that mode of like whatever is best for your painting now it's going to be. I'm going to add again some dark colors. Again, this one is going to be so blurred that like doesn't matter as much what I'm doing here. Yeah, this is a nice trick for like you know, this type of hair. Like I'm gonna do too much. So we did this. Let me do one more here, something like that. And then now I can again go to the mask and start doing a little bit of blur on it to just create some life on the hair. See here, I'm doing some blurs. And you can see that again, like it creates that kind of feeling of life on the hair. It's not super plain. And I can come here and do a little blur here. And obviously it's too intense. So now we can come here and just bring the lightness back a bit until it feels right. Just again, just a little textural feeling. And then if we see from far, ta-da, now we have some like bit more life. Yeah, you gotta do this kind of stuff. Again, like right now we're thinking of ourselves as painters. Okay, think it that way. We're not 3D artists anymore. We're painting things to make it look good and bring value to our storytelling. Some people is like, oh, this is cheating. He's just valuing your storytelling. There's no, it's an image you're valuing. You did most of the work and now it's done. So that's kind of it for the hair. Let's see what else could we bring life to this scene, right? I think overall I would probably not contrast, but saturate a little more the whole scene. So up here, I'm going to create a little hue saturation. I'm just going to bring a little more saturation to everything. Maybe let's bring up some exposure as well. So I'm going to bring some saturation, and I'm going to add another layer for exposure. And I'm just going to increase the exposure a little. It's kind of blowing her face, which is okay. And again, we're painters here, right? So if I bring it up and I feel like it's blowing up her face, I just need to use the mask with a soft brush and then remove some of it. That's about it. So I'm going to come here and just kind of like remove some of the blend out. So you can see here I'm taking from her face. So if I turn on and off now, everything's brought back to life a little bit, but not her face. Cool. Thank you for your answers. I really want you don't stop teaching streaming. I learn a lot from your stream. Don't stop. Oh my gosh. I don't have any plans to stop right now streaming, so don't worry about it. But thank you for the feedback. It's always nice to hear when people enjoy. I do it with a lot of love and a lot of care. So I'm glad you all enjoy it. Cool. Maybe on the vignette here, just gonna dark by hand here, that spot that I'm hating. All right. So let's see from far what's going on. That's cool. That's cool. All right. So one thing I'm going to show you all is very funny because I did not put any textures on those doves or the tree or the sun. It went away, the word. So what I like to do sometimes is I'm going to do here paper texture. So what I like to do is to find some texture that I can overlay. So let's get a high-res image. So I'm gonna go to large, and let's say this one for them. So I'm gonna get this paper texture here. I'm gonna copy it. I'm gonna paste, make a bit smaller here, maybe. And basically, I'm gonna use for the sun, for the doves, and for the tree to kind of give some feeling to them. They're very plain right now, especially the sun. So I'm gonna duplicate this around just to put where I want. This I can even put here with the dove. And now that I have this stuff here, I can go back to my ID moves. I'm going to select the sun, the dove, the tree. The other dove is not here for some reason, but we can paint it, no problem. And okay, so I did those selections, and then I'm going to put as a mask on those papers. So you can see now that I have the paper mask. And to add to this one, just going to zoom in and just, we can just select this thing here. Again, doesn't matter if it's much more or less. Put in here. So now they have paper textures, right? And obviously we're not going to keep it that way. We're just going to do a overlay or maybe a multiply. No, overlay is better. So overlay on this one and then overlay on this one. And you can see there's a paper texture now there. And if you think it's too much, also never forget to soften a little bit your selection. So I'm just going to go here on smooth, a little bit of feather. And same thing I'm going to do on this texture here, bit of smooth, bit of feather. And now I can just come here and tone down a little if I want. So this is for the tree. This one is for the sun here. So you can see now there's a little something there going on the tree as well, which is nice. Let me just tone down on the tree a bit. It's bringing up, so I might do, instead of overlay, I might do multiply, which I think is gonna look better. And let me try on the sun here, multiply instead of, yeah, I'm gonna keep it on multiply, just to give a little bit of textural feeling. There you go. Cool. What else? I think for the curtains, we could, let me see something here. So if we go back here, I'm going to put curtain. mm, texture, and there is a curtain here that we could try to use as well to kind of like give a little more richness, less repetitive feeling on our curtains. Yes, we got to work on contrast as well. Thank you. A lot of contrast, yes. So here for the curtains, what I'm gonna do again is select this yellow bit, which tolerance is way too much. So what I'm gonna do before that even is to paste this curtain here, and I'm gonna put a little less opacity just so I can see what's going on. And I'm going to put around like so. Think like this maybe might help. And there's watermarks and text here, which, you know, oops, and I might not be able to use it. Let me remove this, but we can now do a little multiply and see if it's bringing any richness to the art curtains. Not really. I think I'm gonna give up on that idea. Okay. How about few sparks flesh on the girl, on the shoes and hair decor? Yes, that's a good idea. One thing I like to do also that I didn't do here is to I have a folder, and you guys can create your own folder, but I have a folder called Dirt, and I have a bunch of little things I like to put around for like sparklies and things like that. It's always fun to try. So, for example, I can bring this thing up here and put around like her. And again, it's a try. You got to try it, you know. So we can try the screen and then put it like very low somewhere, some like sparks on the lights. And again, you got to try to position things and I can tell you select see where you can put and like add interest. This one I don't think it worked well, so let's try something different. This one I really like. For example, I like to get this thing here, which is very, very big, like so. I like to make it even bigger to kind of globe the whole scene. And then we can put in some different like blending modes, like screen, for example, or color dodge or whatever. And then we can bring the opacity a lot and just leave a little bit of it. You can see some rings of lights going on, and that creates some like visual interest and lights things. Just like it's just playing, just gotta play with it and see if it's working for you. Some of it you can erase, of course. Another thing I like is to get some dust. Like you can see this image has some like micro dust stuff. So I can bring this image in and I'm going to kind of like, uh, that's not what I want. I want to do like this. I can frame it here, all this dust. And then again, I'm going to do a screen pass. And you can see it's a very intense. But if you put just a smidge, like I'm going very slow until you start getting some of those dust specks. You can see one here, you can see one here. Then you start bringing some atmosphere to the scene. Let's see if there's anything else we might want here from this. I don't want dirt on this. This image is just Google, really. Just Google like dirt, dust, flare, bokeh effect. I can put here, just search dust, dirt, flare, bokeh. Search those words like separately, and you're gonna find a bunch of cool images that you can use. You can even put texture, keywords like that to find those things. All right, so now let's do what Daria suggested. Yeah, it's that easy. Just find some that you like, type texture. I know that some texture websites that they have those textures as well provided. So let's put some sparks here. So one thing I like to do to add some sparks and things, I create a hue saturation layer and I bring the lightness up a lot and I put it into overlay and I bring a ton and then I'm going to invert the mask and I'm only going to put some sparks where I want, obviously, right? So I'm going to come here and then I can bring some brush. I can bring some like life to things here. Some life here, for example, on this little details. Sparks here. We can do a little bit more on her nose if we wanted. We can go around some of these ones and just bring a little more life to it. Put a bit here on the shoes. There's also a sparkles brush I think I have. Let me see if I have it. That we can play around. Let me see if I have any sparkle. Photoshop. Again, these brushes you can also find online. I don't even know where I found this ones, but I just bought somewhere. I don't know. Let's see if there's any sparkles. We have some dots that might be helpful. Let's try the dots one. Dots. You see that creates this little dots. This is cool also to like create some textural feeling on things. Like you can see that it creates some like interest. This is kind of nice. I'm gonna use on her dress because it gives like some sharpness, tertiary detail. I'm gonna do that. And but we could do it white instead of black, and then we could see what happens here on her dress. Look at that; it's getting pretty interesting. We're gonna add some here on her dress. It's cool also to add in the lights, but it gotta be bigger, more sparse. But sometimes to give some atmosphere, like little flakes of atmosphere here on the top of the light, can even add. I'm doing like small clicks around the light to kind of like create that feeling. I like to put in black dark areas as well, some atmosphere, just kind of like give some texture feeling. Let's see what else you could do here. Okay, cool. Okay, I'm not naming things, which is horrible, but you know, trying to move with the flow with you guys here, so it's fine. Let's think what else could we try. I think those bokeh lights here are too strong, so I'm just gonna go to the bokeh light and just tone it down a little smidge more. And I don't know where I am. Oh, it's this one. Okay, so just put it to 2. That might be fine. Let's some curves. See if we get anything good here. So I'm gonna push the brightness a little and push the black. No, we have too much black already. I don't know if the curves will do much for us. Maybe not. Cool. Do you guys have any other suggestions of anything? We can change color of things. We can change lights. We can change a bunch of stuff here. Or let's look at it small just to get the feeling of it. Pretty cool. Sometimes I do like to try something like a color color balance, and then I go to the darks, to the shadows, and I add a bit of like blue. So let's try that. Ooh, that was too much. So go to the shadow, just add a bit more blue on it. And then I like to go to the light and add a bit of a kind of like yellow orangey tone. So I'm gonna push a little bit of both. So you can see the difference here, like just a bit more blue back there, and then a little bit more yellow and orange on the front. Not sure if I'm digging it, but what do you guys think? How do I add blue in the shadows? Oh, that's exactly what I was talking about, huh? You read my mind. I'm writing some blue. Maybe I'll add a bit more blue here too. Okay. It's very contrasty, which is fine. It's not a bad thing per se. We're almost out of time. So before we go, I just want to say I normally like to merge everything. So Control Shift Alt E will merge the image, everything that we did here. So this is all. I'm gonna just take all of this and group and say adjusts, and then this is a merge version of all those adjusts. And one thing I have is this filter in Photoshop. I have two very funny, interesting filters. One is this exposure X6 that you can it's very cool because there are like some cool presets and stuff in here that I'm gonna show you all. Let me put it small here. Okay, so it has some like interesting presets that you can use for different like blur feelings on things, and then there's like some weird lighting things that you can test. So I like this thing because let me delete here this, turn it off, so we can click around and see some effects that it's gonna give you, and you can change those effects. It's very interesting because you can actually change. So this is all bokeh effects that you can use. Another one is the bright. So this is like different brightness and things that you can do. I don't know. Some of them obviously doesn't work very well for us. But this one, for example, we can use those rays to add here to our light. So if I click on this one, let's say, okay. So I'm going to click on this. And it's somewhere in here in the configuration, it's going to have those light rays. See? So we can position those light rays if we want. I don't know if I know how, but you can zoom, and I think you can position them. What is this? Randomly choose a similar light effect. We can choose different ones. This one, I don't know if you can position them though. I thought you could. Let me see. This one's coming from the top, very strong, obviously. But let's say like this. Okay, so this is flipping up and down. This is a zoom. This is the opacity. I think for some reason you could move, but I guess you can't move it. But we can try to find one that is similar. But it gives us like interesting things that it can help to create this more photographic feeling. And I'd like to look through the presets here. Like there's like a cinema presets that makes things interesting. There are even some with like grains to put on a film and things like that. So it's fun to play, but the cool thing is that you can make your own changes as well. So if you don't like any of this preset, you can just create a new layer. I'm gonna create a new one. Add a layer. Doop. Create a new one. So this is with nothing. There's nothing here. And then I can go theme by option by option and changing things, you know. So I'm gonna say cancel. This card changes because I'm gonna do this with more care and love. But there's also another one. It's called Snap Art 4, which you can make your things look like, those fake arts. It's like a better filters from Photoshop. So those filters from Photoshop, like you can make look like pastel and all this crazy stuff. So sometimes I like to play with this, but in a very low intensity. So you can see this or this or this. Very interesting. And then we can lower the opacity. Let's say like I like this, right? I'm gonna make the brush size smaller. So I'm gonna say apply. So it's gonna do the image like this. But then we can try to like see if any amount of that in the image is gonna create some textural feeling on things, So it creates like, you can see here, it's creating some feeling of strokes on my picture. On her, let's see what's going on. So on her, just doing a little bit, not too much, which is fine. Anywho, but you can play with this stuff and see what works for you, if you like it, if you hate it, whatever it is. And it's time for saving, which is true. So let me save the scene. I'm gonna put on my desktop for now. And well, this is where we got. I'll probably play more today with this and get a final result, and then I'll post on my Insta if you guys want to see. If you don't follow me on Instagram and you want to see what I'm talking about, you can go to where is it? I thought I had it here. Caption. Here you go. You see here on the screen now, there's my Instagram handle. So you can follow there if you don't follow already. And then I'll post there the final result of this image. Next week, we're going to start a completely new archetype. So we have about 3 minutes. Do you guys want to do a voting to see which archetype do you want? Thank you, Pedrinho. Okay, so I'm gonna say that our rebel is done. I already put it done here. Wow, very confident. So our rebel theme is done. So we still have explorer, hero, jester, everyman, and lover. All right, so start the voting. Put which one you want. Again, we have explorer, hero, jester, everyman, and lover. Okay. Yeah, of course, Mendel. You are welcome anytime. Every Sunday, 1 p.m. Pacific time. We'll be here. All right, 1 vote for hero, 2 votes. Let me get my epic pen here. So let's put some votes here. So we have 1 vote for hero, 1 vote for lover, 1 vote for hero. Who else? Come on, come on. Let's see what we got. We have, just a reminder, we have explorer, hero, jester, everyman, and lover. Hero, 3 votes. Explorer, 1 vote. Good, just to be different. Anyone else wants to vote? We have 1 more minute. All right, explorer. Coming. Anyone else vote? Please. Okay. Yay. 5 votes for hero. Okay. All right. Seems like we're gonna do the hero next week. All right, 1 vote for jester. So I need a hero. Okay, we're gonna do a hero. This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna do a hero. Oh, a heroine could be. So next week I'm like every time I'm gonna show you all. I'm gonna collect reference. I'm gonna do my research about hero characters, And then you all gonna help me create some ideas for stories for our character. I know I said this last time, but this time I'm gonna try to do less things so we don't need to take so much time. So maybe I'm gonna be a bit less ambitious. We'll see. I end up always doing too much, but let's see if I can be less ambitious, and then we can I can show you guys some texturing Substance Painter and things like that. So and also, if you all have any ideas of story for a hero, bring it next week when we start talking about it on the stream, and then we can do some storytelling together. Cool? Yep. All right. Well, let me clean this. I think that's it for today. Remember, next week we're gonna start hero. If you want to do it with me, follow along, do your research for your hero stuff. And if you don't remember how to do that very quickly, I like to search some information about the archetype hero. And then I like to collect images for the archetype hero that are like iconic. So this one, for example, is for the innocent archetype. And what we have here is a bunch of innocent characters, so I can feel inspired by them. Cool. All right, everyone, this is where we got. Like I said, I'm going to keep working. I might show you all a slightly different version of this, but this is where we got. And thanks for everyone coming. It was great to see you all again after 2 weeks. And 2 or 3, I don't remember. 2 weeks, I think. And I'll see you all next Sunday. All right, have a good one. And now I put a cool video from Gnomon. It's gonna be like epic song, all right? Okay, bye everyone.